Jonas Poole was an early 17th-century English explorer and sealer, and was significant in the history of whaling, although Henry Hudson has often been dubbed the father of English whaling. Poole, whose 1610 voyage led to the establishment of the English whaling trade, deserves the title. Voyages to Bear Island, 1604–1609. He served aboard vessels sent by the Muscovy Company on sealing voyages to Bear Island in 1604, 1605, 1606, 1608, and 1609. In 1607 he was among the sailors sent to the New World to establish Jamestown, in particular being one of the 24 colonists led by Captain Christopher Newport that explored the upper James River in a pinnace as far as the falls near present-day Richmond, Virginia in late May of that year. In 1606 he was given command of a 20-ton pinnace. In 1608 he piloted the ship Paul, and in 1609 he was master of the ship Lioness. Voyages to Spitzbergen, 1610–1612. In 1610 Poole was again sent to Bear Island to hunt walrus, as well as search for a passage towards the North Pole. He was given command of the 70-ton Amity, with a crew of 14 men and a boy. He bypassed Bear Island altogether, sailing straight for Spitzbergen, while Barent Esed had only spent a few weeks exploring Spitzbergen and Hudson less than a month. Poole spent nearly 3 months exploring the west coast and hunting walrus, polar bear, and reindeer there. On the 6th of May he came within sight of a mountain on the south coast of Spitzbergen, which he named Muscovy Company's Mount. He sailed north and sent a skiff into a small fjord. They returned with a piece of reindeer horn, resulting in Poole giving the fjord the name Horn Sound. During this voyage, he also named Ice Point, Bell Sound, Point Partition, Low Sound, Low Soundness, Ice Sound, Green Harbor, Osborne Inlet, Black Point Isle, Foul Sound, Cape Cold, Fair Foreland, Deer Sound, Close Cove, Crossroad, and Fair Haven. Poole also obtained fins and blubber from bowhead whales that had stranded along the coast, but did not attempt to catch any of the great store of whales he saw in these waters, for the Basques were then the only people who understood whaling. His report of the number of whales found around Spitzbergen led the Muscovy Company to send 2 ships the following year, 1611. 1. The 60-ton bark Elizabeth was sent to accompany the 150-ton Mary Margaret under Stephen Bennett on a whaling expedition to the island. Poole was sent as master of the Elizabeth, and was to pilot both vessels. Aboard the Mary Margaret was Thomas Edge, who was to be in charge of the cargoes of both vessels. Among the crew were 6 expert Basque whalemen from St. Jean de Luz. The expedition left Blackwall in April, but in 65 degrees north the 2 ships were separated by contrary winds and foul weather. Quote, They found each other again in mid-May, sailing together to Crossroad, where they anchored in late May. The Mary Margaret spent the month of June hunting whales and walruses, while Poole explored to the southwest, searching for Henry Hudson's elusive Hold with Hope. After sighting this land around 74 degrees, he sailed northward for Bear Island, where he anchored on the 29th of June. In late July, while riding at anchor on the north side of the island, Poole came into contact with 3 sailors sent by Edge and Bennett. They related to him the loss of the Mary Margaret in Foul Sound, which had been driven ashore by ice. He was told that there were 30 men who had landed on the south side of the island in 3 boats, while 2 other boats carrying 9 men had parted company with them off Horn Sound. Poole sailed to the south side of the island, picked up the men, and sailed north to Spitsbergen. Coming to Foul Sound, he found the Mary Margaret's other men, who had been carried there by an interloper from Hull, the Hopewell, under Thomas Marmaduke. Here, on the 7th of August, while transferring the cargo of the stricken Mary Margaret, the Elizabeth, not having enough in her hold to ballast herself, was capsized, nearly taking Poole with her. Poole was in the hold when the accident occurred, and twice while trying to climb through the hatches, barrels of beer and diverse other things knocked him down. By swimming and crawling, he was able to get out of the bark and to the surface, where a boat rescued him. Poole said his head broke to the skull, and my brow that one might see the bare bones, and by mine ear I had a sore wound. Likewise the ribs on my right side were all broken and sore bruised, and the collarbone of my left shoulder is broken. Besides, my back was sore, that I could not suffer any man to touch it. Climbing into 3 boats, the men rowed to the Hopewell, asking Marmaduke for help, but he refused, reportedly arming his men with pikes and lances to keep Poole and his men from boarding. Edge and other men finally convinced Marmaduke to carry them home, but only after agreeing to pay him. In 1612, Jonas Poole again sailed to Spitsbergen on a whaling expedition. 2 ships were sent, the 160-ton whale, under John Russell, and the 180-ton Seahorse, under Thomas Edge. Poole served aboard the latter, probably as pilot. The expedition left in early April, arriving at Bear Island in early May. On the 25th of May they came into Foul Sound. The next day 2 ships came into the Sound. One was a ship sent from Holland, which they had met with earlier off Bear Island. The other was an interloper from England, the Diana, of London, under Thomas Bustion of Wapping Wall. Both sailed away the following day. In early June, Poole met with another interloper, the Hopewell of Hull, again under Thomas Marmaduke, which may have been fitted out this year to hunt for whales. By early June, the Basque whalemen, probably recruited from St. Jean de Luz, had already caught several whales. In late June, Poole said there were so many whales in the Sound that he could not count them. On the 30th of June he reported that there lay abundance of huge whales in the harbour about our ships. Quote, "All this day whales lay so thick about the ship that some ran against our cables, some against the ship, and one against the rudder. One lay under our beak head and slept there a long while." The ships returned to London later that year with 180 tons of oil from the capture of 17 bowhead whales and 2 walruses. At the end of the voyage, Poole was reportedly miserably and basely murdered between Ratcliffe and London. Legacy. Many of the names Jonas Poole gave to features on the west coast of Spitsbergen still retain the name, while others, through modern blunders in map-making and for other reasons, have led to others being changed or altogether forgotten. Poole Pinton on the southeastern coast of Prince Karl's Foreland was named in his honor.